Welcome back. I'm Anastasia, and my mission is to build a community of acceptance and authenticity. I needed some adventure buddies for this journey of insight, and I'm glad it's you. You are all welcome here, and I'm grateful that you decided to join me. Today, we're going to change up the format a little bit, and I am so excited because I had the incredible opportunity to connect with several authors of the book Pillow Talk. Since I met with Heather last and talked about the release of this book, Pillow Talk, it has been named a bestseller and was placed on CBC's list of books to read for 2026. I am told that this is similar to being named on NPR. Huge honor, so excited. And I just love that I'm a part of such a powerful book. I cannot wait for you to meet the others in this community. There are 18 of us in total, so you're not going to meet everybody today, but you're going to meet some more over the course of this year as well. And so today we're going to be spending time with 4 separate authors over the course of this episode. We're going to hear their stories, their process, and what is next for them on this journey. You're going to meet Simmer and hear about her story, Lessons in Loveology, Kate with their story, Pineapples in the Snow, Andrea with her story, Sex Education, and Dean with his story, Boyfriend Duties. So I'm so excited, and this is going to be a really cool episode. Let's get started.
For all the audience, this is Simmer Kaur. I am one of the contributors to Pillow Talk. By profession, I'm a technical analyst in the field of IT, but that's my day job. My passion is to read books, and I'm a book lover. You can say addicted to books, but that got me into I thought of joining Instagram. So now I'm a book blogger, bookstagrammer. I love to talk about books. And that's how I got connected to this wonderful community, awfully hilarious. And that's how one of my stories got selected in this book. And so feel so lucky and blessed to be a part of this book. My story, Lessons in Loveology, is about how my husband and I struggled to conceive a child, and how the chemistry that was otherwise very racy, very spontaneous, kind of got tarnished and faded when we started the logistics, the biology, and the math around ovulation cycles and conceiving. So it's humorous, slightly scandalous, but honest from the heart.
I dropped my book. Hold on. So I got so excited to pop it up that I just fumbled it. It's fine. It's fine. We'll keep that in. It's
That's
okay.
gravity.
It's very human of me.
That's gravity. It's not you, it's gravity.
Scandalous is such a fun word for that because, when that passion is alive, it's almost like anywhere will do. And maybe we'll do it in places that, our normal brains would never choose to. And I remember as I was reading your story of you going through the process of like with you in the lehenga of just how do we figure this out? How do I even get to you with this amount of clothing on your body? And I just remember moments in my past of how did we make that work? Why didn't we stop? Why wasn't there anything preventing us? There were so many opportunities to be like, is this worth it? But you just kept going, and just the humor of your husband just refusing to give up. It was written so well.
Thank you. That was one of the parts where even when I was writing about it, I was surprised. Did we actually think about it, and how? No sane couple would ever do that. If you've ever attended an Indian wedding, the lehengas are it's like gazillion of yards of fabric, and you have layers under the lehenga to keep it in that shape. Mm-hmm. And the jewelry, the amount of jewelry they load you into to look perfect for that occasion, that jewelry also came in the way. But again, the chemistry and that that energy that we had, it was so vibrant and so proactive at that time that nothing came to our mind, and we just went on with it.
Mhm.
And it felt like a very hard task, but I guess our chemistry and that vibrant energy won over all the obstacles. How
Yeah.
no matter how challenging it was, and no matter how humorous it was, I still love
Mhm.
thinking about that embarrassing scene.
Well, and you just said overcoming obstacles, and that really is kind of what your story is about. Not just with lust, but with the science and the data tracking and the hormone tracking. And there were so many obstacles that you overcame. So I'm curious, as you were taking this very personal life experience and putting it into print, what was that journey like for you?
Well, definitely it was challenging because um, I wanted to write about it, but I was, first of all, a little um, n- kind of working towards the boundary. Where should I keep the boundary? How much details should I divulge? I wanted to sound it humorous, but at sometimes it was actually frustrating also. So I had
Mhm.
to find that line between how much I want to share, how much I want to say, and how can I use storytelling and humor to make it sound less frustrating and less serious. Because at one point of time, it actually got serious. And I was like, what is happening, right?
Yeah.
One time we had so many adventurous experiences, and all of a sudden we are going all dry, and this is the time when we really need that rocking chemistry. Where is that? And at one point of time in my life, I thought probably it's the end, we will never even get on with it. What if we forget how to do it? I mean,
Mhm.
all these thoughts kept coming, so I was trying to hold myself into uh, sound it to make it sound that serious or that um, frustrating, because I also wanted to keep it lighthearted. And
Yeah.
of course, as the theme of this book goes, you have to use humor and
Mhm.
hilarity to keep the momentum going. So it was a little tough, but the editors helped, and somehow I
Yeah.
made it.
Well, I appreciate you naming that though, because we don't you don't really name the timeline, like how long you were trying, how long before things went dry, how long that it was dry for before you found this hack that I'm so excited to talk to you about, actually. And like, there's so much real human rawness kind of hidden between the lines of the, yeah, that part was hard, but let's skip ahead because I want to talk about this part in this story. And I feel like so often that's what happens as we look back on stuff is we almost minimize the toughness, but I don't feel like you did. I feel like you named that that was very real and very tough, but it was like, but that's not the purpose of the story right now. So I want it to be there,
Yes.
but I don't want you to sit in it for too long.
Right. That was the purpose, because it's also with many other things. If you think of, for example, if you think of the hard times in education when you were a student in academic times, now that you look back at it, you don't remember those hard times when you were studying and you couldn't get to the examination on time, or if there were any challenges. You do remember it was hard, but then that timeline kind of but dilutes in your memory. You don't remember that timeline. That's what happened with this experience. Like,
Mhm.
I do remember that it took a long time. There were a few months that went very dry. But when I was writing, I wanted to highlight on the points where I actually started. I rose to that occasion, and I was like, no, it has to stop. So I tried to not focus on the times when I was too frustrated or I was worried. I tried to keep the story going so that that's what the readers get. Like, even if someone can relate to the story, they get to the part where, okay, there is light at the end of the tunnel. We can't stay in that period for too long
Mhm.
because we have to get going. We have to start a family.
Yeah.
So that was the
Uh,
part.
and your solution It was so sneaky and so beautiful. And I love the way you like played the slyness in the writing. That's cute.
I know that was, yeah. So again, that comes from the love of, like, my love for the books,
Yeah.
because I have noticed myself that more than just the visuals, more than just watching anything steamy on television, I tended to get turned on by just reading some erotica, right? On the
Yes.
books. And yay for literature, right? The
Yes.
written word sometimes wins. And in this case, it did. It literally did.
Yeah.
And I was surprised because the TV show that my husband was watching at that time also had some scenes, but not at that time. And I was surprised that those TV shows, that those Netflix, they were all adult, like they had their good amount of spice in them. But my written word, the book that I
Mhm.
I'm sorry, I'm
Yeah.
giving spoilers.
No, I was gonna say I want to give like a teaser without giving the full answer. So like everybody please go read this story in this book because it's beautiful. There is humor, there is awkwardness, there is like coyness, there is flirting, there is there's it's beautiful. But basically she tricks her husband with the use of erotic literature. And I'm not gonna tell you how she tricks him. That's the part you're gonna have to go hunt down the book for. But okay, so I love this because that's pretty much what does it for me too. And for those that have read my story, I'm a demisexual. It actually takes quite a while for me to be connected, much less stay connected. And I've tried watching TV shows that are a little steamy. I've tried finding like external things that kind of work to help keep the connection alive. And honestly, my partner, I have permission to share this. He and we read romantasy together.
That's
Like
great.
we cuddle together and I read it aloud to him. So we're like holding and cuddling and touching, and we can pause and like talk about the storyline. And
That's great.
those steamy scenes, they just work.
That's great. That, see, yay for literature. Yay
Yeah.
for literature. Literature over any kind of media.
Yeah.
We are all for books.
Well, and you
That's what
can
I
like
loved.
imagine yourself in the scenarios better when it's
Exactly.
literature.
Exactly. And that's what I loved about your story, because you highlighted about how pleasure is not only bodily. That's what I love. It's like, as you mentioned, and I loved it, I'm going to use it, because reading a romantasy book with your partner is also it's at a deeper level, just like you mentioned in your podcast with Heather. That's pleasure at a deeper level. You don't have to be connected bodily. It is an emotional connection, and that is, I believe, so sensual and so sexy. And I'm so motivated after reading this, and with this, I'm definitely going to use it. I'm now thinking of all the books that I can read with my husband. I have
Yeah.
to turn him into a reader now.
That's why I went with romantasy though, and not just romance, because then there's
Exactly.
dragons and violence and
Exactly.
all this stuff that like gets him enticed. And then
Exactly.
I'm there for like the steaminess and the intimacy. And there's times where we'll
Exactly.
just pause and be like, she did fucking what? And we'll get so into
Yes.
the story. And then there'll be a steamy scene, and both of us were like, she did what?
That's so true. Romantasy is at has more dimensions of of sensuality and
Yeah.
that kind of intimate pleasure than the
Yeah.
other uh, romance books or spicy books.
Well, and because we started with the romantasy and we've really gotten into it, even as I was naming that you and I were meeting tonight, he was like, can we start reading these short stories together? Like, I feel like we're missing an opportunity here. Like, these are stories about sex, but also like they're funny and they're connecting. And like, maybe we should
Exactly.
do a short story over breakfast every day and then talk about it.
That's a
So,
great idea.
yeah, so you're connecting us in more
Wow.
ways than one.
I hope I will be able to do that. I'm so glad to hear that. Super delightful. I believe that is the purpose and that is the theme of the book, because when I was reading this book and I was reading your story and other stories, I wish there was a book that I would have come across in my 20s or 30s. That would have been so great. So I think everybody who is now reading this book is going to benefit it. And it's a great idea for date night. We've come up with the like on date nights, like if couples are running out of ideas what to do on date nights,
Why
read
didn't we think of
Gulliver.
this sooner? This needs to be a video.
Exactly. I'm noting it down. I'm noting it down.
So, you are a lover of books. You are a published best-selling author.
So are you.
We are best-selling published authors.
My God, it has a great sound to it, right?
Oh my
It does
gosh, why
sound
haven't I added
powerful.
this to like any of my titles yet?
Me neither. The feeling hasn't still sunk in.
Yeah, still celebrating.
Exactly.
So, I'm curious, what is next for you? What are your dreams? What are you working on? Any teasers for down the line?
So as of now, I'm still reading. I'm a part of two book clubs. I just recently joined another one. So um, I've always been passionate about books, and somehow books are related to my mental health. If I don't read, I go insane. I go
Yeah.
insane. I have to read. So reading would always continue. I have a huge TBR. And the other thing is, I love to promote authors. I love to promote independent authors, new publishers, and I keep getting these advanced review copies. So I would still continue doing that, which I do. I love to promote books. I love to talk about books. If I like a book, I want the entire world to read it. So I'm going to definitely continue doing that because that's what keeps me going.
Okay.
Um, Talking about dream projects, there's always a book in my mind, but because of my job and I'm also a mom of two, I don't get much time, but I have something building up in my mind. I have a story about a time when my life was changed. I lived with two roommates and I went to an on-site opportunity in US and my life changed. So a story about that. Maybe someday I'll write. I also have to write about a friend of mine who has been my friend for the past 15 years, and she has um, met so many challenges in her life, but she is standing rock solid. So I might write her biography. There's so many stories built up in my mind. So a memoir, sort of memoir slash
I love
biography
it.
sort of a thing. But
Yeah.
uh, maybe someday I will get to write it. But as of now, my main goal is promoting the talk and
Okay.
talking about it because I just love this book. I just
Well,
love this series and this team, this wonderful community that prioritizes communication, connection. God,
say connection, community, communication, literally all of it. I have
exactly.
so much gratitude for what these awfully hilarious books have brought
Right.
all of us.
Exactly, right? I always thought that writing something which will be on paper and published would be a far-fetched dream, but this community made it possible with the blink of an eye. I
I
mean,
still can't believe it.
exactly, right? I mean, getting connected to Heather and this community has been the best thing that happened to my life. And I'm so, so thankful for Heather and this wonderful community and for all us fellow contributors because
I feel that.
every other day I I keep jumping on new adventures like writing this book, writing my story, audiobook recording, meeting you, getting connected with wonderful people like you, reading your stories, getting informed, feeling feeling seen through these stories. Oh my God,
I love
this
it.
this book definitely has changed my life, and I believe I keep running into new adventures every day.
Oh,
I
I
I
can't
just
see
love
what comes next because of all of this, too. I'm so excited that we are connected and I get to follow your story. And
it.
also, okay, shout out, where can people find you for all these book reviews and recommendations?
Okay, I have a teeny tiny Bookstagram account. They call it Bookstagram, but it's on Instagram. They have kind of um, labeled it as Bookstagram because we talk about books. So I have my Instagram account. It's simmer dot bookish dot dreamer. It's like DREAMER.
And I'll put that
So
in the link in the
thank
description of the episode as well so people can see it.
yeah,
Um,
that's my safe haven, that's my comfort zone, that's my place where I talk about books, and I love spreading words about new authors and new publishers. And the hottest topic these days on Instagram is pillow talk.
before we go, is there anything else you'd like to add?
um I just want to say I want to give a shout out to the amazing inspiring stories in pillow talk that were, although the theme of the book is awfully hilarious, but the purpose of this book was to bring out these stories to the surface, which are always hidden and never talked about. And I would just like, out of all these stories, the story that really touched me and I could resonate was lockdown, ending lockdown by yourself. Oh my God. I When I read that story, I read it twice. And behind the underlying that humor was something very serious and something women don't want to talk about. And I love that you brought it to the surface. And I love that all the women who are going through this, I want them to read it so that they don't blame themselves for that. That is really important. And thank you so much for writing it, because the highlight of your story is that the couple has to be connected emotionally. That is the first and foremost thing. Rest of things come later. And I'm so thankful and I'm so happy that you finally found a partner who could understand that. And
Me too.
right, exactly. And good luck to you with that relationship. And I'm so happy because these stories do need happy endings and new beginnings.
Yeah.
And I'm really, really happy that you got a new beginning, and it's not an ending, it keeps going. And I hope you get to where you want to be with this relationship. Thank you so much for writing that story.
That means so much to me. And listening to you speak, I want you to review every book I ever write ever in the future.
Of course, I would love to. I would love
Ah,
to.
I mean, you said that so beautifully. And I'm actually tearing up hearing that gratitude because that was my goal with it. I was always very private as a person growing up. I never shared, I never talked about anything. And I reached this point in my journey where I was like, I needed someone who was willing to talk about it. And kind of like you were saying, of like, how much do I share? How much do I not share? Like, where do I draw this line? But I feel like I've reached a point where it's like, I need to be one of those people that speaks up, even if it's scary for me. And I think that that's what this story was for me of like, I don't think this is fully healed yet, but I do think it's important to share now.
Exactly. It's very brave of you to bring it out in the world, because many people do not still, they do agree with what you said, but they do not divulge it in public. They don't they never agree. So it's like, that they have to first convince their inner self and
Mhm.
then bring it out to the public. So thank you so much for doing that, because whosoever reads that story and is going through that would definitely feel seen and
Yeah.
brave enough to at least agree with their inner self.
Well,
That
and I know we're
I,
basically out of time, but I do want to add one more thought here. I
of
feel like
course.
I can say the same thing about your story. I myself have not attempted to conceive. I am not in that part of my story. But it is challenging and hard and difficult. And it's not something that's really talked about. And I mean the challenge of it, the fact that you kind of do lose the sexiness when it becomes a science. And I feel like you normalize that for so many people who might need to hear it.
Yes,
So,
that
yeah, we are doing brave, important work with this book, and we should both be
exactly.
very proud. And I cannot wait to hear from all the other authors too. And I can't wait to hear from you again.
Yeah, I am Kate Heskett. I came to Whistler for a month about 9 years ago, and I'm now 1 Earth away from being a citizen, which is very exciting. I still live in Whistler. I work at the Whistler Library, um, which is interesting when you're planning on writing a story submission for a topic like Pillow Talk. And I can't imagine leaving Whistler at this point. It's been so integral to becoming the person I am now, which is not the person I was when I got here. So my story in the book is Pineapples in the Snow. And it's about a time in my life when I was beginning to understand that there were things I needed in life that I could no longer ignore. It's set in like 2021, just post pandemic. And the title Pineapples in the Snow refers to a giant swingers hotel takeover that happens every winter in Whistler. Pineapple being the kind of universal upside down pineapple, universal swingers symbol. If you ever on a cruise and you see any of those around, you'll be a little
Honestly,
wiser.
that's really good to know because I actually love the TV show Psych and they're obsessed with pineapples. So I love pineapples. Not a
They
swinger myself.
they
So,
got really popular for a while. I assume that's why they started turning them upside down, just to be a little clearer. Um, but yeah, the story explores what it took for me to show up to an event like that, as well as some choice samples of the experiences I had once I got there.
yeah, I feel like your story for me was a slow burn. Like the more I sit with it after having read it, the more I'm remembering different pieces and they hit so hard for me the longer I exist with your story.
You,
I
yeah,
love it so much. And I love the I kind of said right before we hit record, like there's so much left I want to know. Just your story and you found this piece, which I don't go read their story. I don't want to like completely ruin the ending for you, but it's like I want to know you found this piece of yourself. You let this piece of yourself exist. Okay. But like then what did this journey open up for you?
it was a door that once opened didn't close. So my friends in the story, Zach and Amy, still very good friends of mine. So writing their dialogue was really interesting. I'm like, Amy, I've made you kind of ditzy. Is that okay? She's like, "Oh, yeah, sure, whatever." Um, it did the original story that I submitted. So we were lucky enough to work with a professional editor. The original story went on to meeting my current partners, which I also met at that first event. But they got cut by the editor. They're like, no, we feel like the story ends here. So I had to go back to them and be like, sorry, guys, you got cut.
That is so disappointing because I'm over here like, okay, but what? What happened? I want to
It,
know.
and even some of the stuff in the story, like there's a scene where Amy is putting on some eyeshadow for me. I could write a whole chapter about that. Like that was a huge moment, and it doesn't take up much space just because it was just getting really big.
So what was this writing journey for you? Like one, working in the library, like you said, but also two, it sounds like this story could be a whole novel and you had to turn it into a short story.
Yeah, and going on the hilarious side, like there's a lot of, I mean, sex is basically awkward and hilarious all the time. But then add in like multiple people and locations and pets and like there are so many really funny stories that often hinge on the very graphic details. Like
Yeah.
the the fluid exchange, like all the things that make those spaces messy and awkward.
Yeah, like
But
the hot tub scene.
yeah, yeah. I decided to include them distinctly about other people because I was like, how am I going to feel if someone's sitting in the library reading this and I'm working down in the kids area that day? Like, that's a little bit of a like.
That makes sense.
It was a step for me. Those stories, however, would have been a little bit more told at a distance. I could have told those because it's often, they're not all things that happen to me. They're things you observe.
Mhm.
But they're telling this story and going back to the vulnerability that it took it is very personal. It's very personal. There was a lot happening. Like at that time, I knew I was polyamorous. I joined a local queer meetup group that doesn't exist anymore. That WB used to run. It was like WBMA, and they had some funding there. Because Whistler's so small, I felt like I could show up because usually the queer groups were very kind of specific for identities. And I was just like, I'm pretty sure non-monogamous is not, falls under the umbrella somewhere.
Yeah.
And it wasn't until talking to people there and listening to like trans people talking really about their experiences and being like, oh, a lot of that resonates. And then, so I now identify as non-binary as well as bisexual. Really, it's more pansexual, but the bi visibility is important to me. Plus, it's easier to explain.
Well, I think it is so beautiful that you took that vulnerable step and found yourself. Like you decided, well, I'll explore. But what you really did was like unlock, and you found this community that, even in the queer community, I feel like there's still such a split where you don't really get to see the innards of that world
Mm-hmm.
unless you take that big step and go, no, I'm going to go there.
Mm-hmm. And this story is about like a swingers. It's swingers open poly, but it is predominantly swingers. So I would love to write a longer piece about navigating the swinging scene, which primarily is heterosexual couples doing the traditional like partner swapping, and so showing up in that space as a three and like trying to navigate as queer folk in that space. It's hard. It's really hard.
Yeah. I'm curious how, if you continue to engage in those spaces, how you almost identify like this is the space I want to be in versus this compared to like this first story where you're like, I have no idea where I'm going or what I'm doing right now.
And it all falls on me and my partner at the time, who I was living with up until 5 weeks ago. So that was a big consideration with. So he knows this book exists, and I've said that I've talked about him, but not by name. And he's like, I'm very happy for you, and sorry, I won't be reading this one. I'm like, it's probably for the best.
Yeah. Yeah. I have some of that in my story as well in this book of I kind of hope people from my past don't read it, if I'm being honest with you.
Yeah.
But also I was very raw and honest and named that it was my experience. So at the end of the day, this was your experience to share. And I can feel how much intention and care that you put in it.
It's a hard place to be in when it's not like, I don't know. I feel like there's not a 101 class to get to these places. Like I have a line about throwing myself headfirst down a skeleton track, which I have done, which was way easier than going through any of this, really. But when people are thinking about things in their minds that are hard to overcome, I thought that might kind of equate to it. But there's no kind of easy path, I guess.
And yet here you are taking those steps, finding your people, finding yourself, building this space that feels, I'm hoping, good and safe and comfortable. And so, Yeah.
I was just gonna say a big part of that might be too, like, this was not my hometown. Like, I'm a very long way from Melbourne, Australia. So you get a little bit of freedom that comes when you move that far away from where you grew up to kind of reinvent yourself a little bit.
Well, and reinvent yourself as an adult too.
Yeah.
Oh, I mean, it sounds fun and also terrifying. Like for people who have done something anything similar to that, you're like, oh yeah, this is scary. But also there is that piece of how cool and how exciting. And, something that Heather said, the author of the book for people who are like editor and creator of the Awfully Hilarious series, she was always saying that there is a story for everyone in this book. And there is a story for each identity or each person, for each experience. And I feel like your story is going to speak to somebody who maybe has been too afraid to take that big step and to try something that maybe they've always wanted to, but don't know how to get into the messy fear of it all.
And I hope so. Like I wrapped a lot of things up into this from like exploring sexuality, exploring gender identity, exploring relationship style. And there's a lot out there, but you got to go looking. You got to go looking. I find a lot of people, even in the swingers scene, are on their second marriages, a lot of people. And it's just like, everyone kind of got to a point where they were just, I need to try something different, but it can take a long time. There's a lot of people I meet at these parties who are like, you're so young. Like, I wish I'd known these things. I wish I'd found these things, before I was 60, before I was 65. Like it's, there's very welcoming spaces out there.
You have to find them.
You have to find them. I mean, Facebook's got a bunch of groups. You can pretty much search for anything at this point, but even knowing they exist, even just like, I'd heard rumors of this hotel takeover like from the moment I got to Whistler, like the local staff kind of know that it's a thing, but you don't really imagine that it's like, it feels like a closed space, but then if all spaces are closed, how does anyone get there?
Yeah. It's just such a beautiful idea of like it's open, but it's also protected.
Very
And
protected. Yeah.
and
The security
because
team
of
are
that, you
amazing.
can explore.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. It was interesting. One time, someone showed up at the front door, which is guarded by the security, and they're asking for help because their friend unfortunately had been had her drink spiked. And she didn't know what to do. And she's like, this looks like a safe space. And so the call came up at the hotel. It's like a giant, like everyone's partying in the corridors, like replacing the light globes. And it's very hard to explain until you've seen it. Like the moment we get there, like all the light globes come out, the disco globes go in, like there's fairy lights down the corridors, there's like music pumping. Everyone's got little whiteboards on their like door to like,
Oh
it really
my
is like summer camp.
gosh.
But the call
Wow.
went out saying, are there any like doctors or nurses available who can come to the front foyer? And the amount of people who like dropped what they were doing and probably reached or for a jacket, like had to cover themselves or something. But like the majority of public services folk in those spaces, it's all the people who care a lot. Nurses, paramedics, doctors. Like there were so many people who went to help. It was incredible to see.
Not just, hey, if you're in this space, we're going to accept you and show up for you, but we're going to accept anybody as they are. And if somebody needs help, you're not alone.
Yeah.
No wonder these are your people.
And I mean, that's probably like definitely like the simplified version. But if you had to distill it down, that's yeah.
Yeah. Oh, I mean, it's beautifully complex. And my mind is jumping to now or where you're headed next. Like, what what has this unlocked for you? What are you hoping to explore in your life? Whether
We
it's
have,
writing or swinging, any and all, everything.
well, writing, so I was already writing. I write most years a Halloween story and a Christmas story for the P. For anyone who's in Whistler, you can pick up like a physical copy, but those are available online as well. I'm forever working on my first novel, which there's now 2 of them. I've got a working title, King Swinger, just to try and put into fiction some of that stuff that works better when you're not giving it to your friends and it's got your name all over it. Um, Hopefully being able to point to this one and say, hey, look, this is my lived experience. And so that's where these stories are coming from. But as there's 3 of us. And I have a relationship with my boyfriend, and he has a relationship with his girlfriend, and the 3 of us have a relationship. And then um, myself and my girlfriend Felicia, we also have our relationship, although it's slower because she lives like 2.5 hours away, and I work weekends and she works weekdays, so that's been a hard one to navigate. But we get so excited about these events that we go to, and we'll like go to a coffee shop, like, okay, team, like, what's our plan? Like, who do we want to interact with? Like, what are we going to do? And we make all these grand plans and get so excited about being with other people. And inevitably we just end up hanging out with each other most of the time. It's like it feels really cheesy in that way. Get all dressed up, go out to party, and then be like, you know what? I'd rather just be like at home with you guys.
You're like, I know who my community is and I'm settled in it. And yeah, I could go meet more people, but do I need to right now?
It's hard. The more people you meet, you're like, yeah, but am I going to have a better time with this person? And
Yeah.
often not.
I mean, that's beautiful. I love this community that you're describing as a whole, but also like your mini core community that you've built and found compared to how you described yourself at the start of your story before you took this leap into who you are. That's amazing.
Thank you.
Okay, so is there anything that we did not talk about or I forgot to ask you about that feels really important to share?
Yes. I was thinking about like how to get these stories out to wider audiences. And like I sent it to a friend I know through book club, and he wrote back and said, if I were to teach a class on how to write something both funny and vulnerable and to address stigmas, I would use your story. And yet Heather did an interview with John Ackerman of City News Vancouver, and he asked her like which stories were her favorite. She was talking about Pineapples in the Snow as one of the ones that stuck out for her. And he got very kind of like sheepish looking. It was like, oh yes, that was particularly racy, and moved on really quickly. And then like Pillow Talk just made like the top 50 Canadian nonfiction books to read this spring.
Yeah, it did.
Yeah, it did. But when you look at our blurb, we get 1 sentence and every other book got 2. It's almost like the people who could provide the reviews that we need, it's not a realm that they're willing. It feels like they haven't read it or that it was too much for them.
Like,
And so I'm wondering how you find the people to do the reviews so that we can get it out there, but isn't just like an AI summary.
I think that is such a good point because this book is so vulnerable. And there might be quite a few stories that like we as the authors share to try to fight stigma and normalize, but that doesn't mean the people that it will resonate with are ready to name, hey, this resonated for me. And so, oof, yeah, I don't even know. I feel like I would almost invite them of like, well, then don't say it's you. Just like you said, of like, I can share more detail, but from removed of, oh my gosh, I know a friend who would love this story.
Yeah.
Or yeah, I think this will help a lot of people. You don't have to say it helped you necessarily.
Yeah.
But it's stigma fighting for a reason, because these are the stories that people are afraid to talk about and afraid to admit that exist. And we are fighting so many battles here to get this book seen.
Yeah, even if you wrote one of the stories, there's gonna be something in there that you're like, oh, okay. I wasn't expecting that. Yeah.
It's very funny telling my friends and family, like, hey, I'm a best-selling published author. It's a book about sex and explicitly my sexual trauma. And like, you might not want to read it, but like, if you want to, you're welcome.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm not sure if my dad has read it yet.
Maybe one day.
My mom was like, oh, send me a copy.
Yeah.
I was like, okay.
I know
Yeah.
my mom read it and her immediate reaction was, I'm so sorry you had to go through all of that. I'm like, yeah, me too. I wish somebody else would talk about this stuff so that I
Yeah.
knew it wasn't normal.
Yeah.
So, yeah,
Yeah.
I think
that finding a community of people with shared experience makes a huge difference.
And I think normalizing that it's hard to speak up, it's scary to take that step. But if you're willing to speak up and name it, you might just find a community ready to accept you with welcome arms.
Yeah. And if there's anyone out there that we can, like, I don't know, it's like, I feel like if this project and this book can help anyone feel less alone in that process, or to start it sooner, perhaps. Like I was saying, a lot of people feel like they lost a lot of time. I think that's a win.
That is a win. Any last thoughts? Anything else besides amazing? Look at us, best-selling authors, spreading the word. It's amazing.
It's not a discussion we've been having in book club recently is that smut is on the rise. So if you're somebody who is better at exploring things in the more fictionalized side, it's currently quite on trend to be reading anything smutty. So smutlit is happening. So feel free.
And there is a smut book for everyone.
Yes. Yes.
Find your kink. I promise you it exists in book form.
Mm-hmm.
Hi, my name is Andrea Andres, and I'm the author of Sex Education, the part that talks about me discovering that I'm asexual and coming out of a trauma-filled background where that was hidden from me for about 40 years. So I'm married of 25 years. So it's a big story of the support I have with my husband through that process as well.
Your story was raw. It was magical. I feel like it could be eye-opening for so many people who need that knowledge.
Was the magic the part where the floaties were going through the air and I was turned on by the floaties? the
I did
cottonwood
pause in
floating
that,
through
just
the
like,
air.
it reminded me of the episode I did with Heather about pillow talk and talking about how erotic doesn't have to be sexual. That
Yeah,
erotic can
it's
be
just that
food or
feeling,
like this moment of,
connecting to your body and a good feeling.
yeah. So
so
yes, actually, that is
pleasure can happen
magical.
that way too.
Totally can.
Yeah.
Well, and magical in how you and your husband like slowed down in the mess together. Like
Yeah.
neither of you had the answer, neither of you knew, but you were both willing to not just run away. And that felt
it
so
took a
powerful.
long time. Yeah, thank you. It was that was probably the most lonely moment through the process of discovering that after the oh shit moment of learning on Sex Education, the show, that I was asexual and never hearing that term before in my life. I was so grateful that our teenage daughter had suggested us watching that, but it was very hard to watch. It was like, oh, I don't want to see it. And now I know why. It's not interesting to me. But yeah, so once I learned that, it helped us kind of stop trying to fix me.
Yeah, you weren't broken.
Yeah. And embrace my normal. So it validated me for the first time in my life.
Well, and just the fact that the way you were taught to think about it before you realized, where it's like, this is a job,
Yeah.
this is my responsibility. Like, even that
Yeah.
description, there's no
I bet
fun
that
in it.
resonates with a lot of people too, right? Where
Yeah.
we're told to play these roles
Mm-hmm.
in order to keep people interested. Even like teenagers trying to keep their boyfriend around or girlfriend around, they may say yes to certain things they may not want to do.
Mm-hmm.
And I
And
think that I fell into that category for a while. And I think my religion was a safe place to hide because I wasn't supposed to want those things.
so say more about what this journey has been like for you to share this story, to put this to paper, to choose to let it exist in that way.
Oh, it's so powerful to share in a way that could maybe help people understand a bit more of how your life has been impacted. Um, and so I think creating that label of asexuality or discovering that is nice to be able to share what it is. So it's someone that doesn't have any sexual attraction to any race or gender or person. So I don't look at a person and I don't understand what hot means or I want to jump their bones or anything like that.
Yeah.
Like I just don't have that. So to kind of figure out something that you're not and describe something that you're not is kind of confusing. Some friends will be like, "Oh, that sounds like me," but it's hard to describe it, right?
Yeah.
Without sharing your story. So sharing your story is really nice.
Well, and I like how you tied it to, like, there's so many beliefs that we get caught up in that we don't even realize we're holding
Mm-hmm.
that might not be true for who we are.
Yeah, and a lot of the queer community, right, with even seeing heterosexual normatives and not finding someone to identify with. And so in the show, identifying with that person that came out as asexual was like, oh, wow. Like the resistance just left me. I felt like I was just floating in the clouds.
I
I
mean,
was so relaxed.
that is a perfect example of why representation matters.
Yeah.
You were sitting there going, I'm broken. What's wrong with me? I have to fix this. Literally, everyone is saying that this isn't how I'm supposed to feel. And one person in one show goes, this is who I am. And somebody goes, that's normal.
Right? That's
Everything.
so comforting. And to feel understood for the first time, even if someone was on a show, and then my husband next to me is like, oh shit, she's never going to want to have sex with me again. And so I had to really rediscover why it is I would even choose to have sex and why I would choose to even stay with my husband. I had never thought about divorce until that moment. So that was a big one for us.
And how scary, but also how powerful.
Yeah. So I think it validated how I can approach sex. And I discovered the word copiosexual. I don't know if you've heard of it.
Describe it
Where
for us.
even if you don't have sexual attraction towards someone, you could still choose to have sex for a different reason. And that reason is just as valid. And so and if he's okay with me not approaching it in the same way and validating my own way, then it can work easier. Now, whiskey and weed definitely help a lot. But
Well, I can't help think about, my own story and the story throughout the stories in this book. There's a lot of us demisexuals or asexuals and a lot of people who don't fit the norm within Pillow Talk, trying to normalize it like, hey, you're your own unique person and identity, and that's okay. But I also think of so many people who maybe do fit the norm in some ways that still have this experience. Your friends going, well, I think that might be me.
Yeah, so many, right? And even in the book, like there's a lot of authors that had a religious trauma background, but they were able to embrace a different normal, like my husband.
Yeah. And how empowering to basically be told that your job is to never say no. And
Yes,
then
from my
figure
mom.
out, like, oh, I get to say no.
Yeah.
Not only that, but like, I'm going to be with somebody who will respect my no, which will then
Yeah.
allow me to say yes.
And, you know, that fed into his trauma of feeling not desired.
Yeah.
So those, you know, clashed a lot in our marriage and built up some challenging history to work through. But having that aha moment, oh, this is who you are. It has nothing to do with me. Don't take it personal, is helpful.
Oh, I
Yeah.
love that. Don't take it personally. It doesn't have
Mhm.
anything to do with whether or not I desire you. I don't really
Yeah.
desire anyone. It's
Right?
not about you.
Yeah. I like the lighting. I like the mood. I like the feeling. I like the romance. I like the connection. So I would always tell him, I just want to be close to you. I want to connect to you. And I think a lot of people can use those similar terms. But for me, since I can't connect to the sexual bit, like I can't even tell why it is I would want that. So I'm just like, I feel distant from you. So I feel like that would help us connect more. So I try to word it like that, which does not turn him on.
Again, you're experimenting still.
I'm trying. Yeah.
How long has it been since this story took place for you?
Oh, what did I say? It's been about 5 years, I think.
Okay.
Yeah.
So the you that is sitting here with me today, looking back on the you that discovered it, like, where are you now?
Totally different person. I definitely love who I am more now. And growing up, you can have so many different versions of yourself, right? And I have like 74 journals that I can fall back on and read who I was at those times. And sometimes you don't want to know who you were before, but in this instance, I'm just so much happier and freer and yeah, less resistant to life because I always felt like I was fighting something that I didn't understand, or like I would research things about sexuality because I felt like I needed to be that and I didn't understand how to be that.
Versus unlocking the permission to just be yourself.
Yeah, because I felt like that was important. If it's important to him and it's important to culture and movies, why can't I be that? And it was just so frustrating.
Well, and I think that's one of the hardest things is like, it can still be important to him, but that doesn't mean
Yeah,
it
and
has to be important to you too.
like if I dress a certain way, it comes across that way to him, but I don't get how to make myself embody that sexuality. So I always would like look away from the camera, or I would like the photos where it wasn't my face in it. Because I did a lot of boudoir photos for him or other things for him, and I could never like make the look happen or make myself feel a certain way that I saw in other pictures. And yeah, it's interesting.
I want to say something and see if it's resonating for you because I'm
Mhm.
appreciating the energy with which you're describing this. Because it could be like, oh, I have to do this for him. But it's like, no, like I do care about him. I do want to connect.
Yeah.
And like, yeah, I don't really have like this level of connection, but that doesn't
Mhm.
mean that I don't care about him or his needs or his wants. Like I'm still going to be me and I'm not going to pretend to be something I'm not. But I also want to accept him. And I'm
Mhm.
guessing that he shows up for you in a similar way that you show up for him. Like you two have found
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
that teamwork. And
Yeah. I would say I love who we are as a couple now way more. And I think we appreciate and understand each other, even though we're on completely different sides of this. But when we were first married, he hid it well because he suppressed it from being told not to want those things. So, you know, deconstructing our faith and coming into our own awareness and giving ourselves permission to be ourselves, yeah, really opened up different pathways for both of us.
Yeah, you created your own meaning, and that is so
Yeah.
beautiful.
Yeah. I mean, I still feel like a little kid. I think maybe I still feel 12 inside. So sometimes I'm like, how do I have a daughter that can embody this? And I see it and I'm like, whoa, amazing.
Yeah.
She's 20 right now.
Wow.
So I'm like, I don't understand how to own that look or that, how you're dressing, for instance.
Well, you
Yeah.
don't have to because it's not
I know.
yours. You get to dress in the way that feels good for you.
Yeah. And I would say I'm still figuring that out because I would always dress to please others. And so figuring out who I am is a big part of the process of validating yourself and how do you choose to express what's going on inside.
Have you heard of dopamine dressing?
No.
It is one of my favorite things. It is basically dressing for joy.
Oh, yeah, like Marie
Literally,
Kondo.
yeah, like only putting on clothes that
Uh-huh.
make you feel like you
Spark
or make
joy.
you smile. And I have a friend who's like, I don't get it. I don't get it. I don't get it. And she'd just be like so grumpy. And then she finally
Yeah.
called me one day and she's like, I found an outfit and I feel like the sun and I get it now. I am for sure dopamine
Oh,
dressing. And it's like, oh, it like finally clicked.
uh-huh. Oh, see, if I start with pants, I love pants. So these are fun pants with flowers on the side and really cool pants. I like pants. So then I'll start with that. That makes me happy.
Okay, so I want to ask you about because like you've been on this journey, you're building yourself, you're figuring out who you are, you're
Mhm.
finding the empowerment. What is next for you? Where do you see yourself headed?
Well, I'll continue to work as an EA at a school, education assistant, but on the side, I'm going to be pursuing finishing my memoir. So I've already written over 80,000 words just to heal myself and rewrite my own story over pandemic. And then I was like, why would I share this? There's no reason, it's just for me.
Mm.
And then I read I think it was Karen Barnhill's When Women Were Dragons book.
Okay.
And it's a fantasy memoir. I was like, it all clicked. I was like, I have to add a character to my book that represents my true self. And then I'm going to kill her off or somehow silence her to the point of where we're disconnected.
Oh.
And then we're going to reunite. So I have started writing that process and it's really fun.
Oh, I love the twist.
Yeah.
Do you have a name for your memoir yet?
Still working on that.
Okay.
But
That's okay.
yeah, it'll come because it's either going to be like In Sake We Trust or Cornucopia because that's my name for myself. So,
I love, honestly, whenever I write, the title is almost the last thing
oh,
to show itself
definitely.
to me. So,
Yep.
yeah. Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
Is there anything that I did not ask you about or you didn't share that you feel like you want to name for our audience? Anything that you want them to take away from or to just really emphasize?
I think it's just really wonderful and important to validate your own way of being and your own ethics. And if you do that for yourself, then you have to do that for everyone else as well.
Yeah,
Because
it
why
goes
would
both ways.
Exactly. So I think even though I don't understand my husband's ethic and what he wants to pursue and how he wants to express himself, I can still appreciate him and validate him. And likewise for him, for me.
Yeah, you both get to show up as yourselves and you both
Yep.
accept each other as yourselves.
And not own each other like you're told marriage is like you're one. No, your identities are completely different.
Wait, you're still your own person, even if you choose to
What?
be in a connection with somebody else?
Yeah.
Mind blown.
Right.
Can I add maybe one extra thought that I'm having?
Yeah, go for it.
Something that I really emphasize in my work, and whenever I meet with a new couple, it's one of the first conversations that we have, is actually the different forms of intimacy. Because there is sexual intimacy, which is, a
Yeah.
big conversation that we're having today, but there's emotional intimacy, There's intellectual intimacy, like intimacy when you're having big conversations.
Mhm.
There is physical intimacy, which is separate from sexual intimacy, like
Yeah.
appreciating someone's look without that sexual vibe.
I would call
And
that aesthetic. Yeah.
yeah, aesthetic intimacy.
Yeah.
And so we all have a different definition of the different forms of intimacy, how we
Mhm.
view it, how we would describe it to somebody, how it feels for us. And when you get into a relationship, I love actually slowing down and defining it separately and then together and basically creating a shared meaning in the different forms of intimacy and what it means for you as a couple.
Yeah, and what people would say would be very different from each other and what's important to them
Yeah.
and how they see it.
And I think that's coming to my mind because I feel like you and your husband kind of did that together, even if you didn't do it in the structured, let's go through each definition kind of way of
For
like
sure.
how you show up in these intimate spaces. And
Oh,
you
yeah.
don't just have to have sexual intimacy in order
No.
to be intimate or connected to someone.
Yeah. And he doesn't have a romantic part of him. And I'm very romantic and more sensual. And he's just cut and dry.
Yeah.
And it's funny how what is important is very different. Yeah. Or how you see those different things that you mentioned.
Yeah. And you two just
Yeah.
get to bridge that gap. And I think
Mhm.
that's magical that you're both doing that together.
Yeah, I think valuing the history together, and we're so connected with the pursuing of understanding of how we got to where we are and the process of just life unfolding so that we saw love more and more as we left Christianity.
Amazing.
And we're like, it's bigger and broader than we ever could have thought. And so we definitely encourage each other on, I guess, is it a philosophical level? Yeah.
That's beautiful. I'm excited for your memoir.
Yeah. Uh,
Okay. Is there any tags, any social media shout outs that you would like to give? It's okay if you don't.
mhm. Like on Instagram, I go by the World of Cornucopia. So I give forest bathing walks, I guess.
Okay. Beautiful.
But there's a lot of photos on there. I share a lot of personal things sometimes as well. I've written some poetry that in Whistler's museum. So I like poetry as well.
Beautiful. That's amazing.
Mhm.
You're just starting to come into your own.
Yes, it's true.
It's going to be fantastic. Like whatever you do next, it's going to be amazing. I can feel it.
It's a very exciting time to reclaim myself at 40 plus 47.
Never too late.
No, it's never too late. I mean, there's so many people that start things way later in life.
Hi, I'm Dean Slugger Jones, author of the story Boyfriend Duties in the anthology Pillow Talk. It is a story about falling in love for the first time during transitioning hormonally and physically and mentally and emotionally. It's being a boyfriend for the first time. And all of the things that also happen while going through second puberty, which is the transition of being on hormones. Yeah, my pronouns are he, they, and I'm a writer and a yoga teacher and energy worker and very happy to be here.
I'm happy you're here too. And I have so much appreciation for your story. I feel like so often people talk about pre-transition or post-transition, and there aren't a lot of stories or people willing to talk about the transition itself, or at least in the spaces that I frequent. And I loved getting some insight into what that process is like, at least from your experience.
Yeah, it's messy
I believe
and
it.
overstimulating and wild. And they warn you or they inform you of all of these ways that you will be uncontrollably changing, just like we all do when we're teenagers, you know? And you can kind of have an idea, especially if you have a sibling. Like I have a lot of cis brothers, um, you know, so I had maybe an idea, but like you really don't know until you're experiencing it.
Was
And
there anything that really surprised you in the process, even if you were kind of expecting a lot of it?
it was just like, oh, I think one of the most surprising things, which I didn't really write about in this piece, but certainly have attempted to write about in other pieces I've been working on, um, was like, I mean, there's a couple things, but there was a section of time where like I needed like 11 hours of sleep. Like when I was 16, you know, it was like,
Yeah.
I was like, am I really depressed right now and don't realize it? Or do I literally need this much sleep because I'm going to bed at a normal time and I'm having a hard time not waking up after 10 a.m. And like that's fucking with my work schedule hardcore. And just like, I'm 32 years old. Like I like to
Like,
wake
I
up
did
in the
not sign up
morning.
for this.
No, like I don't want to have to sleep 11 hours a day. Like that is bullshit. I don't want that. um, I'm good with my 7 or 8, but I still kind of need 9 now. I need like 9.
Wild.
Yeah, it's wild. Yeah.
What was the journey like for you writing this story, having it published and out there?
Yeah, so this story is kind of crazy. I wrote it intentionally to submit it to Pillow Talk. A friend of mine, Chloe Caldwell, she sent me the link and was like, I think you probably already have something for this. And I was like, probably, but I want to write something new for it because like I'm in such a new place. Because when I went on hormones, it was like after a few months, it was like I couldn't even focus on any of the projects I was working on before that. It was just like everything I'm focusing on, everything I'm experiencing is different. And I had been sitting on the first few lines of the piece for a while and was like, I'm just gonna continue and elaborate on it. And it was really playful and really fun and kind of like overwhelming to so honestly talk about the topics and be so explicit. Not that I'd never written explicit work before, but I'd never really written explicit work about something that was currently happening. All of that is present moment. So, and the first time anyone heard it, I brought it to a WIP salon, a work in progress salon. And she was there. And she didn't know I'd been working on the piece. And it was a whole group of people. And I read it out loud. And it was crazy. It was like a version half the length and half as detailed, but it was it felt like a huge ripping of a band-aid of being like, oh, I am going to take up space in this way. And I am going to like share these vulnerable and somewhat embarrassing things about what it's like to transition outside of the things that are obvious to other people. And like let's attempt to humanize this experience at a time where so many trans folks are being treated as less than human or even less than alive.
Explicitly other.
Explicitly other, yeah. So let me like, you know, and I feel like I really did my best to like tie in things that like just are so universal to everyone's experience. And to help you like see this is what this is and this is like who I am. I'm just like a person trying to feel comfortable in my body just like you, and doing these things is making me feel more confident, more connected, you know, more capable and of giving love and also more worthy of receiving it, you know. And also just like I don't know if I wrote about this in this piece, but like there's something that happened when I stopped overthinking myself so much. It's like all of a sudden I'm actually making like these human mistakes that I've seen other people making my whole life.
Like you really are just human.
That I really am just human, and I really am just figuring it out, and I'm not trying to control myself as much. And so now I feel like I'm at a very youthful threshold.
Ooh, I love this so much. And that is, I can't remember if you wrote about the confidence piece in that of just like going with it, but
Yeah.
it is so human and it is so raw and it is so relatable.
Yeah.
And, you know, I'm sitting with what you're saying now and thinking back on your piece. And you did such a beautiful job of like, let me give you some explicit. And then I'm going to pull back and give you a completely different story for a second. And then I'm going to go back
Yeah.
into it. And then I'm going to go to this relatable space. And then I'm going to go back into it. And it was such a beautiful pendulation between
Thank
different
you.
experiences. And
Yeah.
there were so many points as I was reading. My partner and I read stories aloud together. So we've
Oh,
actually
I
been
love that.
slowly like reading Pillow Talk and like digesting it as a couple. And as we were reading your story, I kept pausing and looking at him and going, I have literally thought that thought before. Oh, I
Mm.
have literally had this experience. Oh, wow. Like Dean is looking into my soul right now. Like I've had that experience as I was reading your story.
Wow. Well, that's all I want. And I, obviously really want that for other trans folks. But it's also really important to me that folks that aren't in that community with me um, wind up seeing themselves in the experience and the life I'm living,
Yeah. Because you're
I
just human, just like the
I'm
rest of
just
us.
human. And I just want to create more space for other people like me to feel comfortable sharing that, admitting to that, and not trying to be perfect or fit into some specific thing, and also just like worthy of the mess of what a relationship is, and worthy of being held while you cry, and um all of that.
Yeah. You said in the mess of it.
Yeah.
And, you know, your story is definitely you in the mess of it, but also you writing the story was you getting into the mess of it. Like the
Mhm.
whole experience sounds like being willing to get into that messy middle and not
Yeah.
necessarily know what the answer is going to be, but just this is where I am.
Yeah. Which is like very much the choice you make when you choose to medically transition, for sure.
Hmm.
It's just being the fool. It's just being the fool and jumping off the cliff. And that's also what you choose to do when you choose to, uh, fall in love with someone knowing that you most likely will be hurt in
Like
the
you
end.
never know what the answer is going to be
No,
at the end of your journey.
you
All you
don't.
have to do is jump and hope for the best.
Yeah. Yes. Yes, exactly. And so I feel like Boyfriend Duties is, one of the many attempts I have made to bring that to life and put that on the page.
What was it like for you in that moment where you felt like, oh, I'm a boyfriend? Like you got to have that experience.
It I was probably just like on cloud nine for a hot minute, just like so overjoyed that I finally um was able to give to someone, who was seeing me and feeling me and knowing me in the way that I was still accepting,
Mhm.
and still figuring out how to demand I am treated and seen, and the woman that this story is about, she's just like this tender flower, and I got to water her garden for a while and bloom alongside her, and it was crazy of her to choose to be with me in the throes of puberty, and she's perimenopausal, and that was like a whole opposition thing,
Mhm.
so interesting, so beautiful, so messy. Yeah.
It sounds like you both needed that experience with each other.
For whatever it's worth, yeah.
Mhm.
Still only time will really reveal what that looks like. But
Yeah.
I would never have this story,
Mhm.
um, and all of the things in the story that have really built the foundation, helped build the foundation I've been building for myself to feel good about being Dean Slugger, Um, and there's so many other parts of my journey of becoming um, that she's a huge influence of.
Tell
Um,
me more about what you think this foundation is building towards, like who you are becoming.
yeah, I'm hoping to just become an even more open and vulnerable and honest and willing to learn and grow and hurt and just feel alive. Like, may it just create more space for me to exist in compassion and acceptance and truth and love and forgiveness and, um, you know, and give give myself permission to play and be playful and um, understanding of all of the ways that mistakes and messiness is just the only way we grow.
That's beautiful.
And in terms of like art and craft, this essay will be a part of a collection that I've been working on that um, is probably going to be called Boys Who Bleed, but I don't know. That is the name of my blog, but there's only one piece on it, you know. I'm not that active on any media, so
That's okay. You're living life and being human. Sometimes that means getting away from the screens.
I'm living life and being human, and I'm unmedicated ADHD, so
My partner is ADHD.
yeah.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so what is next for you? What are your dreams? What are you working towards?
I really want to finish Boys Who Bleed this year. I it's it's in the container of the first like year and a half, 2 years on T. So it's just about second puberty. Or I mean, it's about me. It's a memoir essay, but like everything that was written about was in real time. And now I need to sit and sift through it and organize it and figure out what it even is. Because the only piece that is actually like a piece is boyfriend duties. And that's because I had the pressure and the support
And the
of the whole
timelines.
team and the timelines that I wasn't creating for myself. Other people holding me accountable is how beautiful.
Yeah.
And I also, I just got out of my Saturn return as well, which is a huge impact on the identity and structure and purpose. And I am really nurturing my body work and energy work practice right now as well, so that I can create a more independent lifestyle that makes it so I can carve out time to be creative with words and with music and with movement and all of the outlets that I have in a way where I can really be in my own rhythm. So I'm really just working to figure out how to be in my own rhythm and have that support me financially enough that I can be consistent and in it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
As you were saying that, my mind was thinking back to second puberty.
Yeah.
And sometimes I've heard people talk about like subtract how many years you were a kid from your life. And so, at let's say 20, just because math is easier. I'm also 32.
Holler.
Basically, I'm 12. I'm like a
Yeah.
12-year-old adult. I'm still
Yeah.
figuring out everything. Childhood didn't count for this phase of my life.
Mm-mm.
I'm still going. And then
Yeah.
you had second puberty on top of that. So, of course,
Mhm.
you're still finding your rhythm. Of
Yeah.
course, you're still moving through it. And you're
Mhm.
just trying to figure out what any of this means for you.
Truly, truly. And also trying to stay present with my community like my immediate community, the macro communities that I'm a part of, and tend to the tender heart that I have. And I think, this is a huge subject change, but I do want to bring it up because I can't stop laughing to myself about it. But in my piece, I make a reference to Buffy the Vampire Slayer. And I'm actually talking about Vampire Diaries.
Really?
Yeah, Buffy has no brother named Jeremy. That's Elena in Vampire Diaries' brother. And I'm like, oh, I'm fucking up my vampire lore here. Like,
Okay.
so
Nobody will blink at it.
no, but that's my favorite thing about the piece. I hope people do blink at it, right?
Yeah.
Because that's just like, I'm messy and my brain is like not working properly. Like, especially when I was writing that, like I wasn't even a year into puke. I think I was like 6 months in writing this piece. And I was just like this little horn dog who like barely had any blood in his brain. Like, and even now, a year and a half in, I'm still making mistakes because of my fucking dick. It's just like,
Well, and also what a human experience though is like as everything else is changing, your brain is like, I don't know how to work anymore. Like, yes, maybe that's a hormonal transition thing, but also that's a human thing.
a
I get done with my
human
workday
thing.
sometimes and my brain is like, I don't know what words are, you shouldn't try.
No, like, pray to God you don't have to drive your car again today. Like, yeah, I'm grateful I can walk a lot of places for when that's happening.
Well, and you seem to have the insight to know that it's happening and to maybe be more gentle with yourself versus people who go like that and then just beat themselves up for their brain not working or for
I'm both.
missing something. Like the fact that you just sat there and you were laughing, you're like, no, I want people to notice because it's a part of the mess. Like that is just, there's so much self-compassion and acceptance in your reaction just now towards that.
Well, I'm glad that is how it is perceived and seen. I mean, and that's an easy mistake to make. That's an easy one to sit with.
Yeah.
There are a lot of other ones that you make that aren't quite so easy. Figuring out how to laugh about them is the real growth.
And that takes time. And, that's where awfully hilarious comes in. Pretty
Mhm.
awful. And we beat ourselves up or we get stuck in it.
Mhm.
And then eventually, maybe we find some humor.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Maybe we find some humor. So yeah, it's just been a whole journey.
So I'm curious, because like that was definitely one where your brain was like, wait, I have to say this. Is
Yeah.
there anything else left lingering in your mind that you feel like we didn't talk about that you do want to mention?
I don't know, but I do really love that we had the opportunity to record our own audiobook versions, and that's the version I'm most excited about. I actually would really love to read audiobooks. I love using my voice and I love reading my own stuff because I feel like that's when you really actually get to understand how the story is meant to be told. Like, yeah, formatting can help with that. But like, I don't know, maybe it's the poet in me and the vocalist in me because my background is singing and music. Like I wrote songs way before I wrote stories. And
Yeah,
so
you get to choose the inflection.
the
and
inflection,
how you read changes the meaning in some way.
yes, and the meter and I can change the whole time signature between different things. And so I'm like, if you're listening to this podcast and you listen to the audiobook, I want to know how you felt about that, like how it was received audibly versus on the written page.
I'll go listen to it and I'll let you know.
Oh yeah, thank you. Yeah. Although I love that you and your partner read to each other. That is a love language of mine.
I love it. It's a newer hobby of ours. And every time we're not and we're just like walking and talking, one of us will pause and be like, I just love that we do this together because it feels more intimate and connecting. And it's just such a beautiful space that we get to share that for years we didn't even know existed.
And it's also ancestral regardless of your roots. To be sharing stories and talking about stories together out loud, face to face, like be in like embodied together in it. That's very, very much medicinal.
Yeah, it's beautiful. I love it. Okay, I'm having another thought.
Okay.
Backtracking all the way back to when you
Mhm.
were talking about um, how you and the person this story is written with and about
Mhm.
how you got to share that space together for a while, how
Yeah.
beautiful that was. There is a song, and it is like my go-to breakup song that I share with anyone who has gone through anything. And it's
Mhm.
called Meant to Be by Bear, B-E-R.
Mhm.
And the whole point of it is we were meant to be, we just weren't made to last.
Yeah. Mhm.
And anytime there is any moment in anyone's life that was so powerful or so important or so messy, but then maybe it doesn't last forever,
Yeah.
I always think about, but it was meant to be. It was.
Absolutely. Absolutely. That makes me think about, I have a friend. I mean, I have many friends, but I have one of my friends that I like consider to be like on my council, um, my mirrors, who I know I can always like turn to. Uh, she said to me, every love story is a love story. Some are short and some are long, you know, they're all love stories,
Yeah.
and even now, like I love her and she loves me, like the person this story is about, and the uh, life we worked really hard to try to build together, both in very weird stages of life.
Mm-hmm. And you
Uh,
get to build meaning within that.
yeah, yeah, it's very beautiful, and um, I'll be holding on to it for a very long time, probably lifelong.
Well, and
I
it's
imagine
literally in print.
it's literally in print, which is so cool.
Like anytime your memory starts to fade, you'd be like, let me just pull it up real quick.
Let me just pull it up real
Let me
quick.
listen to my own voice tell me this
I've
story.
only listened to it about like 3 minutes in, and then I was like, oh, I can't listen to this right now.
But maybe, 10 years from now, 15 years
Yeah.
from now, that
Yeah,
might be something you want to experience. And you
exactly.
can
And
because
I
it's
can.
available.
Exactly. Yeah. Um, yeah.
A wild idea.
It's a wild idea, but I will definitely do it. I have no doubts that I will do that. It will probably be less than 10, 15 years. It'll be some time when I'm crying, and I need to not be crying, or I need something to help with the crying. I don't know.
You need to hear the love story.
I need to hear the love story. Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, I have loved this conversation that we are having.
Me too. This has
And
been so wonderful.
yeah, I'm so glad that we were in this space together. And I want to end by checking in to see if you wanted to give a plug to where people can find you, or you have a blog with a single post, but if there is any way that you
Oh,
want to like
yeah.
advertise what you're doing and who you are.
Okay, well, if you want to just follow the chaos of me, you can go to my Instagram, which is Dees period healing period hands. And that's where, if I do post again on my Substack, Boys Who Bleed, which you can also follow, you'll know there. But you'll also know about any energy work or meditation offerings or yoga offerings that I do, which can be done, and tarot readings, which can be done from anywhere at any time. And yeah, those are the places to find me, and maybe you'll find me in an audiobook one day. But
Yeah. In
yeah,
fact, I recommend it.
yeah,
Everyone listening should go buy Pillow Talk, listen to Pillow Talk, experience Pillow Talk, because every voice is so unique and so human in the rawest, most beautiful form.
it's so true. And it's like showing up for a reading, but you can do it anywhere you want.
I feel privileged to have a space where I can give these authors and their powerful stories a place to be heard. I am lucky to be a part of this community, to be amongst other authors who decided that it was important to share their stories to fight stigma, normalize the range of human experience, and remind every single one of us that it's okay to be ourselves. Even if you don't fit into what we think normal is by society's standards. Quick hint, none of us are normal. That's why I want to find people who are like-minded and build this community of incredibly smart and supportive people. Hopefully something we talked about today resonated with you. If it did, let yourself sit with that idea for a little while longer. If you have any questions for this podcast or any themes you'd like us to focus on in the future, send us a message on Instagram at Insights With Us Podcast, or send us an email at insightswithus@gmail.com. If you enjoyed this podcast and want to hear more, please follow, like, or subscribe. If you want to support the continuation of this podcast, you can donate. To do so, find me, Anastasia Soroka, on buymeacoffee.com. You can also find Insights With Us on Substack for exclusive content, including videos and other writings about my insight journey. You can find digital downloads on my website, happymindwellness.com. Thank you for being my adventure buddy. I appreciate you, and I appreciate you being here. Thank you for creating Insight with us.